It was Churchill who said there's something about the outside of a horse that is good for the inside of a man, and it is the Riding for the Disabled Association who says that all you need to know about horses to volunteer to help is to be able to point at the pony's ears. They will train you. Those of us who look after animals, especially horses, can feel the benefits on many levels, but it isn't the most accessible of industries. The Clwyd Special Riding Centre at Llanfynedd seeks to provide these benefits to as many people of all ages as possible.
It was a very determined lady called Anne Sopwith from the Ceiriog Valley in North Wales, whose motto was never, can we, only, how and when do we, who purchased a hill farm at Llanfynedd and began establishing a centre where people of all ages with a wide range of disabilities and special needs could ride. It was officially opened by Her Royal Highness Princess Anne in 1984.
We shall be chatting to Victoria Everall, Anne's daughter, two volunteers, Sally Anson and Gail Leggett, and Georgia Webb, who looks after all the ponies. So let's get tacked up and go.
Celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Clwyd Special Riding Centre, we are chatting to Victoria Everall, a trustee and daughter of Anne Sopwith, its founder. Tell us about the early days.
Yes, indeed. So Mum viewed the property here where we're sitting today in 1981, and it was a small riding school on a rundown small hill farm, and she thought she needed to buy it. Basically because she had started 10 years prior to that with the Dyffryn Ceiriog RDA group, which is where we lived in Glyn Ceiriog, with our own ponies. And she started a small RDA group with like-minded people in the village, and quite quickly realised that the use of our ponies as a family wasn't going to be big enough, and the scope was so much wider than that. And equally, she very quickly realised that the riders that were coming to Glyn Ceiriog actually came from the Wrexham area. Their school was often over here in Wrexham. And she also knew that there were probably adults that could benefit from riding activities as well. And so all of the riders that she had in the Dyffryn Ceiriog group had outgrown our facilities at home, and she thought, I need to go and find somewhere. She found this property here, now called Clwyd Special Riding Centre, teamed up with a small group of trustees in 1981 to buy it. Everybody was a bit derogatory about the way the property looked, and there was no forthcoming money and nobody would loan the money, and there was no trustee insurance. So it basically meant that those early trustees had to be responsible. If everything went wrong, they were going to pay for it.
So was this before the actual RDA was set up in 1969? Was this pre that?
No. So Mum set up the Dyffryn Ceiriog group in 1973, I think. And so operated from there at our family home and with our family ponies and horses until she bought this in 1981 with a group of, as I say, like-minded trustee group.
So she was very brave to sort of
pilot it. They all were. It wasn't just Mum. They were all brave in what they took on, really. Mum helmed it. It was Mum's passion. It was Mum's vision, Mum's dream. My dad was incredibly involved as well. He was the treasurer for the first 18 years.
And how old are you and your siblings?
So there are 6 of us. I'm the second youngest. And I was, when Mum started the local group, I was, I think, about 7, and my younger brother was 5.
Do you remember it all? You remember it?
I definitely remember. I remember leading ponies, helping with the ponies when we came home in holidays. And when we first came here 10 years later, so I was a young teenager and coming here, and I can remember walking across the yard and leading some of the ponies. And again, it was still some of our ponies that we were still using and horse boxing over here, as well as others that were then gradually bought and acquired for the centre.
So when I first made contact with you, and I was very interested to hear on the message that you're a speech therapist. So does your interest in this therapy stem from your mother's dream? Does it all? Was she your sort of inspiration to?
It's a really interesting question, and actually I have never thought about that ever before you asking me it. It's possible in that it was when I was thinking about a career when I left school, I had no idea. Well, I did have a bit of an idea what I wanted to go into. I wanted to be a paediatrician because I knew I wanted to work with children. But at that time, and it isn't the case anymore, but at that time, to become a paediatrician and to become a consultant doctor, I wasn't going to become that until I was about 40. And because I wanted my own children, I couldn't really see it as a career path that I could marry with having my own children particularly well. So I went off that idea, and I also went off the idea because I didn't think it was very hands-on with the children. I'd just be diagnosing medical issues without actually being hands-on with them. So it was Mum that said, what about speech therapy? And as I look back on that now, I am wondering, because she put me in touch with a Wrexham speech and language therapist who then gave me some work experience. I was inspired, went on to do a career in speech and language therapy. And I'm wondering whether that speech and language therapist, because she came from Wrexham, whether there had been a connection.
It was one of her contacts.
Yes, because obviously a lot of the children and adults that come here for riding sessions and other equine activities, a lot of them have communication difficulties. And so it's highly likely that Mum had come across this speech and language therapist through the centre. But I have never, ever thought about that. But it was Mum that introduced me to her. I was inspired and went on to do my degree, and yes.
So does your professional qualification have an influence here now?
Professionally, I'm not actually definitely involved in terms of offering speech and language therapy in any shape or form, but I was involved alongside our hippotherapist at the time, Lynn Monroe. Hippotherapy is physiotherapy on horseback. And alongside her, and she and I developed the first hippotherapy conference in Wales, which I'd written down, was actually in June 2014. And Lynn asked me if I would do a talk on the benefits of hippotherapy, but it could also be the benefits of all sorts of other activities that we offer here at the Clwyd Special Riding Centre, the benefits of those for communication. And that may be around empathy, eye contact, gesture, confidence, encouragement, to use speech, to use non-verbal communication. And I did a talk at that first conference on the building blocks and the foundations of communication skills. So that was very much presenting as a speech and language therapist. But I also, sometimes when we're looking at outcomes and we're thinking about therapeutic benefits of anything that we offer here, I am often talking about the communication side of that, or I'm talking about the mental health and social support and benefits of that, and therefore I bring in my professional lean as well.
What feedback do you get from the families of these children about the communication skills improving?
Massive. We have just had an open day here, inviting various donors, sponsors, corporate businesses, and it was one of the big areas actually that we talked about with one of the little children who came and did a demonstration here. And her mother also spoke very specifically actually about a lot of the benefits to her child, who's a little 7-year-old, the benefits for her communication, for her confidence, her learning, her focus of attention has massively come on. She was a very introverted, quite withdrawn little girl. And since coming, and literally she's only very, very recently started riding here. And her mother reports that as a result of confidence, but particularly attention skills, focus, has really improved. And that's helping her her friendships, it's helping her learning in school, and just encouraging her. She was full of smiles, which her mother said she would never have really sort of even looked at you, let alone smiled at you. So that communication, she spoke with me, and there was no issue about that at all. Whereas, again, Mum said she would hardly speak a word before.
That's absolutely incredible.
Can you tell us more about the treatment techniques available at the centre? Obviously what they can achieve.
Okay, yes. So there's lots of things on offer here. So we offer therapeutic riding is one sort of aspect. So that might be dressage, show jumping, countryside challenge. We've got a variety of beneficiaries that would partake in that and benefit from that. And that's joy, fun, progression with physical areas, learning areas, communication areas, and they can go right from the very, very beginning stages right through to Paralympic winners. On that side, we've got the building that we're sitting in at the moment, which is called the Celt building, which is the Centre for Equine Learning Therapy.
It's an amazing room. It's a lovely space.
Fantastic space. So you can see we've got the mechanical horse. Well, sorry, I know we're doing a podcast, but we do have a mechanical horse here. We've got interactive whiteboards. We've got learning facilities.
So how did you raise the money for all this?
We put forward a bid for the big lottery funding for that. So we got some lottery funding. We also had to match fund lottery funding. So huge fundraising efforts to match fund. Big expensive building. It was this and also our new equine barn as well. So yes, we were very, very fortunate to get some lottery funding, but also we've been incredibly fortunate and worked very hard on the fundraising side of things.
So you, all the running of the centre, you have to raise yourselves. Yes. You don't get any, the air ambulance doesn't get any help.
No. So we get nothing from RDA headquarters, nothing from sort of government side of things or anything like that. No, everything is fundraised. Obviously, when RDA groups come here, we have our own CSRC RDA group. We also have, which is amalgamated a few groups now, Dufferin Ceiriog group and Wrexham group are amalgamated with us.
Do the holiday lets make you any money? Because you've obviously got a huge facility for holidays here.
Yeah, so we have a fantastic facility called Tigwiliau for holiday, and that was quite groundbreaking when that was developed. And opened in 1992. Quite groundbreaking to have a facility that offered holidays for RDA groups.
So anybody
can
come to that? Or
nationally.
Is it just...
RDA groups can come nationally, and we have had international groups come here as well. Lady Rosamond Gladstone used to lead on some groups from Portugal, I think from Russia as well. RDA groups coming from all over, but certainly from all over UK. Come here. It's an 18-bedded facility, fantastic facility. And so, yes, we have an income that comes in from that. We are now trying to explore. Those tend to come through certain months, through the summer months. And the winter period, we tend not to have those groups. So we're now looking towards opening that up a little bit to other kinds of groups and that may want to come here. It could be ramblers, it could be businesses, it could be corporate team building, events, cyclists, etc. Because it's a brilliant facility. So we're just starting to market that now for that.
Gosh, it all sounds incredibly busy. So what help has the Princess Royal's leadership been?
Well, as you know, she's the patron of RDA. Fantastic. She officially opened us in June 1984. She came again in April 1982 and she opened Tigwiliau. Sorry, not April 82. It must have been 1992. November 27, she came again and she opened this building. So 3 times the memorial wall that we donated as a family actually in memory of my parents, but also to chart the history of the centre. The brand, Champions brand, that helped us develop that wall, they did sort of make a joke and say, have you got a direct line with Princess Anne or something? She's with you a lot. She has been an amazing support, and it is just extraordinary how involved she is, how knowledgeable she is. She's unbelievably knowledgeable about disability, obviously about RDA, but she's also remembers so much about this specific centre. So each time she visits us, she just holds it in her brain somehow and just knows and takes such enormous interest. The people she wants to meet are the volunteers, the beneficiaries. She wants to meet the people on the ground. She wants to meet the staff. She obviously wants to meet the trustees, and we're volunteers too. I'm a trustee. All of us. She takes such an enormous interest in us.
She must be delighted in the success of the centre.
So we've been incredibly fortunate.
Yes. So you're a trustee, and are any of your other siblings involved?
All of us are very involved. Yes, I am a trustee, and I'm the only one at the moment that's a trustee, but all of us are massively involved with fundraising, always have been. Everybody takes a huge interest. always wanting to know what's the latest updates and how can they be involved. We've got lots of fundraising activities. This is our 40th anniversary year. We've got lots of fundraising activities coming up. They're involved in nearly every one of them, all of us.
Well, it's great that all these things are starting to surface again.
Yes, it is.
If you could have one wish for the Clwyd Special Riding Centre, anything at all, real or not real, is there anything that you would set your heart on?
I think for me, so many people, when Mum died, which was in 2017, everybody talked about this place being her legacy. And I suppose therefore as her daughter, I just hope that legacy will continue. I'm sure it will. There's so much passion, there's so much dedication here. I hope that would be my dream, that would be my wish, to carry on her dream and her vision, and that it will continue to go from strength to strength, and that I hope I can be a part of that for as long as I can be.
Well, just arriving here, it is very beautiful.
So,
It's been fascinating to hear. So we like to finish with a motto or a joke or general inspiration.
Yes, I think I'm not very good at jokes, but in terms of, at the bottom of our Sopwith Memorial wall, we actually wrote, helping one person may not change the world, but it may change the world for that one person. And I think that is those are pretty powerful words. They seem to be anonymous words. We couldn't find anybody to attribute those words to, but I think those are pretty powerful. And I think, as I've already said, the centre was Mum's vision and her dream. And I think motto-wise, we would still stand by her thoughts, her statement of it. She never said, can we do it? She only ever said, how and when are we going to do it? And just do it. Get on.
Well, that's wonderful. It's a wonderful place for people who come here who need help. And also, I think the volunteers must be inspired by that as well.
Well,
so,
we're enormously grateful to the volunteers. Without the volunteers, we don't run a centre.
Marvellous.
Brilliant.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you so
Victoria. Well, good morning to Gail and Sally, who've both been involved with the Clwyd Special Riding Centre for many years. So it's lovely to be able to speak to you about it today. And I know you've both spent a lot of time with horses. And what was it that led you to the next step of giving your time to this charity?
Well, for me, I went up to Glasgow because Ant was sent up there on work. And I thought, because I hadn't really got a lot to do with my time, I would go and help out at the Glasgow RDA, which was a new multi-purpose built centre. So I arrived there, and actually it was a really impressive place. And I went in to offer my services. And this gentleman turned around and said, you mustn't let that lady go. She knows all about horses, which gave me rather shock. And as I turned round, it was an ex-employee of John and Irene Lilly's from Cheshire. And I could not get away from not helping out after that precise introduction to all the coaches. In those days, though, it was very hard because they didn't have a lot of volunteers, so they very much needed us. But I did 4.5 months up there and then returned home to have Caroline. And so I took a bit of time out. And then I came across Mrs. Leggett, who found me with not much to do one day.
So, Gail, and the same question to you, Gail. How did you get involved?
Well, it was lovely Penny Brooks that got me involved, and a little bit the same. I had Richard, or no, maybe I hadn't had Richard at that point. And Penny and I spent quite a lot of time together with the horses and our other lovely hobby that we all enjoyed at the time. And Penny just said, come up and see the centre for the Clwyd Special Riding Centre. And it all flowed from there, really. And you are, as soon as you arrive at somewhere like Llanfonydd, you're absolutely taken in. You're involved immediately. It's just such a wonderful centre. And to see the appreciation of everybody is, heartwarming.
It is a hill farm, isn't it, converted when it was first bought for the purpose. So it is a very beautiful place.
It's a beautiful location. It was so run down. I mean, it was just a load of sheds, a little tiny farmhouse, and it has now just been developed into a very important unit within the riding for the disabled.
Well, you both got involved at a very busy time with, young children, the prospect of young children, and life is always very busy. So how did you manage your time to be able to do this for over so many years?
Well, I think you find spaces, you find people to help out with the children. And, once you've committed yourself to volunteering, I personally feel you should keep to that time that you've given to them. There are, obviously, you are a volunteer and you are allowed to go on holidays and things like that. But sometimes what I learned from when I was doing it up in Glasgow, that if I couldn't go one day, it might have meant a child couldn't ride because they hadn't got a backup. And this is what now is so important with it all, is to try and have enough volunteers so that you can have backups of people. So, I want to go off and have a jolly and, go to Chester and have lunch with the girls. I could do it. But normally I will not do it on a Thursday because I am always volunteering.
So for it to work, there's got to be benefits and rewards for the volunteers. That's very important. What benefits and rewards have you felt, Gail, through doing it all?
Oh, so many. It's the fact that you see a child coming at a very young age who perhaps does not have any communication at all, doesn't have any ability, no strength in the upper body, no strength in the lower body, confined to a wheelchair. And you just see the most extraordinary things happen on a horse. The horse gives them movement. Yes, it's not a miracle. You're not going to create miracles, but you are going to create a feeling for the person on the horse that they are like any other human being. They're moving. And to watch a little boy, girl smile with the reaction to a pony, it's just wonderful.
To be able to put somebody onto a living animal, and you're putting them onto an important position, aren't you? And that must be absolutely exhilarating for them. And it's the positivity, is it, that goes with horses. I'm sure that...
and it's the time. It's a very slow progress, but I know that Sally has one child in particular that actually can now walk.
Yes, there's one little boy who wasn't able to get out of his wheelchair, but after a year or so of doing riding, he's walking quite happily on his own, and, his body muscles have strengthened so much. And he's such a happier little boy for it as well. And that's what it all boils down to.
Yeah, how amazing that
and
must
be.
confidence.
And we mustn't forget about our adults as well.
Oh, yeah, we have adults, especially people who have had strokes. And this is suddenly, for them who have loss of independence, to then be able to get on a horse and actually ride. And we have a couple who ride on their own. And to me, that's absolutely fantastic. And they know, and they're doing so well. Getting that little bit of independence back again.
So it must be amazing for the family who, have the burden of negativity to be all of a sudden have a positive influence in their lives. Must be a huge impact.
Yes, and we also used to have, we're hopefully getting them back again. We have the schools who bring the children, and I was asked to go to one of the prize givings a couple of years ago, just before COVID, to see 4 of the children who come up riding, to see how well they had done. And you never meet their parents, of course, because normally they come riding with the teachers. I met the parents of these children who all came up to us and said how fantastic that it was that we as volunteers were helping their children, and the confidence that it had given their children, and that, hopefully they would be able to continue. But of course, both parents were working parents, so it had to be done through the school, so to speak. Sadly, COVID has knocked us back. But, we're getting these children back again, which is great.
So it's possibly knocked back your flow of volunteers. Do you need these?
We always need more volunteers, always, because as Sally said earlier, we're volunteers, and therefore we do need flexibility as well if people are going on holiday. So yes, we always need more volunteers.
The rewards, as you said, are more than just the physical. The rewards for anyone volunteers, it's like whatever you put into life, you get out, don't you?
Absolutely.
So that's clear to be seen. Now, so are most of the volunteers from the horse world, or is it becoming a more diverse mix of people who are getting involved? Because there's obviously a lot more to it than the horses, isn't there?
No, we have teachers, which is actually fantastic, retired teachers. We have some young who come in their spare time, again, which is fantastic. If you don't know anything about horses, you help as a side walker. Or we have one lovely volunteer who is a side walker, and also she is in charge of getting the right hats on the children when they arrive. And because she was a teacher, she interacts so well with them when they all arrive, and so they all go in to see her, this, that, and the other, and she gets the right hats for them. And it doesn't matter what you've done. We're always in need of
And then
people.
there's somebody in the kitchens as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so there's always something
to do.
Yeah.
And it works really well. And what I love about it is you meet people from all walks of life, and we're all there for the same reason, to help people.
Now, I know you've both worked for many years as part of a fundraising team as well. What's been the range of things that you've used to raise money, and is there anything which works best?
Well, we have our ladies' tennis, don't we, Gail?
We do, yes. Sally and I run the ladies' tennis. Well, Sally is the main person, but we do tennis and lunch, which is greatly...
Which has caused me a lot of headaches recently, because we've now been trying to do it on the email, and Mrs. Anson is not techie. And there are a lot of people who get rather a lot of emails they shouldn't get, but we're slowly coming to terms with it. And Mrs. Tyack, my friend Alice, has been very, very helpful on this one, and I tie her down to my computer.
Well, I don't think you should be too downhearted, because I don't think there's any substitute for the word of mouth and the personal touch in fundraising, all this sort of crowdfunding and on social media. I've had a look at that, and that isn't an easy way, because you need so much social media energy and publicity to be able to generate, like the Just Giving pages. That's not an easy way either.
No, and
so,
I mean,
it's the personal touch.
Yeah, we try. I mean, in the past we've done balls.
We've done balls.
The invisible ball.
The invisible ball was very good.
What's that?
The invisible ball was just a little bit of luck, because we were due to have a fundraising ball, but we hit COVID, and it was actually Fiona Churton who told me about this idea that she'd come across in her early 20s, that you sent out invitations, and it was called the Invisible Ball, and it meant you didn't have to go, and you didn't have to go and buy yourself a dress, and you didn't have to get a taxi,
and babysitter,
and you didn't have to get a babysitter, and people loved it. And so we did it. We sent the invitations out as the Invisible Ball, and the donations came rushing in.
That's very clever. That's very witty. It takes a witty idea.
Yeah.
And it should have been on April, and we put April Fools, because he's got the date wrong, which was quite clever.
Yeah.
And COVID hit the week before. We had no marquees to pay for.
No.
We had no staff to pay for. We just lived off our invisible ball.
And everybody loved it, because it was just, one of those extraordinary things. But obviously we've done race days. This is our second or third one that we're doing at the moment. Probably the third one, actually, at
Bangor Racecourse.
Yes, at Bangor Racecourse.
They're always a success.
So they're always a success. We also do a Christmas fair
at the centre. Which
they're
doing this year, which is
good,
great, because it gets people up to the centre to see it.
And that's when more the locals come, and the children and the adults come to that as well. And there's always things going on.
Well, I think, now that we are allowed to do all these things, I'm sure these ventures will be rocketing away. Now, when the original organisers began the Clwyd group back in the 1960s, and I know it was Anne Sopwith that you mentioned, who was a mainstay in that. When they first began, they wouldn't have the sort of red tape and health and safety. So that probably helped. I mean, they would, with their specialist knowledge, they would make sure it was safe, but they wouldn't have the sort of paperwork. What do you think they'd be most pleased to see now? Now you've got all these new developments that have happened lately. What would they be most amazed with?
Oh, I think the facilities.
Yes.
I mean, Anne came up to the opening of our Celt and the new stables.
The Celt.
Which is the Celt Centre, which has a mechanical horse in for learning therapy, and it's been very, very successful. And Anne Sopwith came up to see that, and which is really nice for us because she was really very impressed with what we'd done. And the new stable block has just been fantastic for all the horses, obviously. Of course, we've got an amazing track, which she got going with the lottery. I mean, it's the place now looks so fantastic.
And we bought quite a lot more land as well when it came available.
Golly.
Attached to the farm.
Yeah.
So it is just so different. And one of the big events that we do there is holidays as well. There is a holiday centre, which a lot of locals probably don't know about.
I've read some of the reviews and people coming from down south, especially to a hill farm in Wales. That
just
seems
fantastic.
Amazing. It's got some lovely write-ups.
And we got a really nice grant from a friend who to do the bathrooms. So they are state-of-the-art bathrooms now for any disability. It's absolutely fantastic if you just literally go and see them. We've got pulleys and we've got things, and anybody can go and have a bath
any
or a
disability.
shower. Any disability can go there, and it's made such a difference. And we're always upgrading that, because that's the new thing now, because we feel the furniture might be looking a bit tired, of which the furniture's been there for 25 years, 30 years.
25, 30 years, yeah.
They're always trying to upgrade everything the whole time.
Well, it's an amazing story of success, and I'm sure it will go on to even greater things. It's lovely to hear from you both. Thank you very much.
Our final guest to celebrate 40 years at Llanfynydd is groom Georgia Webb, who has kindly agreed to show me round. How long have you been working here, Georgia?
So I've been working here for a year. I started off part-time, and then in October last year I went full-time.
Do you live locally, and how many grooms are there here?
Yeah, so I live really locally. I live about 5 minutes away, which is ideal. And then we have myself and Shelley, who are both full-time grooms. We have Ben, who's our equine manager, and we have Alice, who works Saturdays and Sundays part-time for us.
How many horses and ponies are there for you to look after?
We've got 21 horses here altogether at the moment.
And tell us all shapes and sizes?
All shapes and sizes. We've got from little 10-hand Shetland ponies all the way up to big 17-hand Percherons.
Do you have a favourite?
Oh, yes, I do. So my favourite is called Zach. He is 29 years old and he has done 25 years of service here, and he is on loan to us from World Horse Welfare, and he is absolutely stunning. Just the sweetest character.
Gosh, what an amazing sounding chap. Are most of the horses on loan, or does the centre own them?
So we own the majority, but we have about 6 or 7 that are on loan to us currently.
And when you are short of horses, sort of how do you source them?
So it's mainly word of mouth or from other riding centres.
What particular qualities are you looking for when you take on new horses?
It has to be temperament through and through. They have to be calm and collected and reliable.
When the horses need a break, the centre has quite extensive grazing now compared to the early days. Do they go in the fields here or off-site?
So yes, they mainly stay on site, but during COVID we had a few of our volunteers and members of staff took horses on for us. But they mainly stay on site because, as you say, we have lots of grazing, so there's plenty of room for the horses here.
It must be lovely to see the centre returning to full swing after the quietness of COVID.
It's been fabulous. I only started a year ago, so I never saw it up and running fully. But from what I've heard, we're quite quiet at the moment still due to COVID. But, you know, seeing the life being breathed back into this place with the riders coming back has been absolutely amazing. And it's so lovely to be a part of that.
And funnily enough, you were saying that the summer, although you'd expect it to be the busiest time, there is a bit of a break to help the volunteers a bit.
Yes, so the summer is actually our quietest season lessons-wise. We kind of have a break from a lot of our sessions so that our volunteers have a break, and so do the horses. But during these months, we have holidays that come in and they use our horses in our facility.
And going back to the ponies again, do the children name them, or do they come with names, and how does that work?
So they normally come with names, or say if we end up with a horse with the same name, we then just add a little name on. So we've got 2 ponies called Jack that look exactly the same as each other. So one's Little Jack and then one's Big Jack. So no, they tend to be named by the staff.
We're now in the stables, which are immaculate, and Georgia is going to show me one of her favourite ponies. Which one's this, Georgia?
So, yeah, this is Sucky, or Sultan, as his proper name is, but it's very Welsh and a lot of us can't say it, so we call him Sucky for short. He's 28 years old. He's been here for a long time. And even at 28 years old, he is still very forward and quite an excitable little chap. You know, all the children do love him. As a 22 or 23-year-old, I think Sucky was actually originally retired, but brought back into work because he didn't take to the retired lifestyle. He told us he was coming back into sessions.
He looks in amazing conditions, don't you, chappie?
Oh, yes. He's got a nice little pot belly there, hasn't he?
We are now in the indoor arena where a very technical lesson is going on, and the young lady is doing amazing work, but Georgia is going to tell us more about it.
So, yes, this lady is riding Coco, who is our Belgian Ardennes. Coco is 9 years old, I do believe, and has been at the centre since he was 4 years old, brought by our head coach, Pam. He is a very big boy. He's about 17 hands and built like a tree trunk, but is the sweetest, kindest soul ever. And he's giving our rider here a fabulous lesson. Our rider now actually went to Hartpury with us back in July and did extremely well, winning her class. She's absolutely one to watch out for in the future. She will be going places.
Because as you said, so many of the people we know from the Paralympics have started with the RDAs.
They have. Yes, absolutely. So Georgia Wilson actually started her riding career here. She's a bronze medalist currently, and she's doing very, very well, and a local rider herself.
Tell us more about the outing to Hartpury.
So Hartpury is the RDA National Championships, and it is held in July at Hartpury College in Gloucester. So myself and Shelley and Pam, our head coach, took 3 of our fabulous horses down. And our riders all competed in a variety of disciplines which they had to qualify for in the regional qualifiers, which we held here in May. So yes, we took 3 horses down and we did a variety of show jumping and countryside challenge and carriage driving. And there would have been dressage on, but unfortunately they cancelled it because it was when the weather was really hot and we have to put the horses' welfare first. But yes, so we did really, really well at Hartpury. We had a first, a couple of seconds and a third place amongst other results, but they were our standout results. And our winner was in the show jumping on Mr. Harvey. And then we had the second place in the countryside challenge, which was amazing for me actually, because I got to lead the rider around the countryside challenge, and it was like, not only was I a groom that day, but I was a competitor, and I got to be a part of that, the excitement, and I worked with the riders, and that was, it was an amazing opportunity for me as well as the riders.
Yeah, you obviously had the golden touch.
It was, thank you very much. Yes, I was thrilled because I was quite nervous myself, going into the championships. But my rider, Beth, did absolutely fabulous, and I'm so proud of her. So proud of her. She was very nervous, bless her.
And tell us about the carriage driving. Are these adapted carriages for wheelchair users?
They are, yes. So they are specialised carriages, so they can be strapped in, and our coach goes in with them. And our fabulous horses, which we have 4 carriage driving horses, very calm and collected for the riders. And the carriages themselves are like a dual control kind of setup thing. So there's 2 sets of reins and an extra brake. And
so the carriage from here went down to Hartpury?
Yes, they did. And they were taken down by some of our fabulous volunteers. And also as well, I must say, our horses were transported down by our volunteers to cut costs to the riders, which was just brilliant.
We've just passed the outdoor arena, but we're at the Countryside Challenge activity area. This looks great fun with some serious challenges. Tell us what the children have to do.
Yeah, so Countryside Challenge is dressage with fun involved. So it's a case of, we have things like the barrels down the bottom where the riders do 5-metre circles around, and then they can come up and do a serpentine, and then there's a section through some posts down there where they go free walk on long rein. And it's getting the riders really to practice their dressage movements but without thinking of dressage. There's also a gate here which the riders will stop at and then open, and then they turn through the gate and they say thank you to the gatekeeper as they come through. And it's a great interactive way to get the children and all riders, I must say, thinking about dressage without thinking about dressage.
I think it looks great fun. And to the side of it is the beginning of your 2-kilometre track.
It is, yes. So we have an all-weather track here, which is just amazing. We get to ride our horses out on the track without taking them on the road, and it's like having our own private hacking, and it's fabulous. So on the track, which is sand and rubber, we have a picnic area, which was recently done up by a group of volunteers that came in from the Wirral Way, I think, if I'm right in saying. And so there are some picnic benches and a portaloo, and there's a corral where we can tie the horses up. So when our holidays come in, or any group really, they want to come out and use the tracks, they can stop and have a spot of lunch halfway around.
I think it looks brilliant. And how many sort of go out in groups doing this?
All of our riders use the tracks at some point, mainly dependent on the weather and how long they've got. And then any holiday groups that come in to use our facilities will always use the tracks. It seems to be one of the big draws into us. It's fabulous.
Well, it looks lovely and also incredibly beautiful.
It is beautiful.
We're now in the Celt building with most probably the best behaved horse on the place. Tell us about it, Georgia.
So yes, we're in the Celt barn, which stands for Centre of Equine Learning and Therapy, and here we have the mechanical horse. The mechanical horse is an absolutely brilliant tool for anybody that wants to feel where they might be sitting during a lesson, or how they might be sitting. It's a brilliant piece of kit, really. So inside the mechanical horse, there's sensors that picks up how you sit. So it literally feels, you can see here we've got 3 lines down the side, and it feels where you place your leg.
Yes.
And then there's sensors in the reins that tell you how hard you use each rein, and there's sensors in the seat that tell you whereabout you're sitting. And then it all comes up on the screen here in front, and it tells you if you're sitting in the centre and where your legs are and the difference between the pressure in your hands. It's a brilliant piece of kit for any rider.
Yes, I think we all need one of these. It looks very technical and obviously very expensive.
Yes, very expensive.
Well, for a quiet summer's day, there's quite a lot going on today, Georgia. Is that the centre's lorry that you went down to Hartpury in?
So the centre does have a lorry, but that is actually a lorry used for park and rides. So we have members of the public that come and give us a small donation to the centre to park their lorries here, and then they can come and ride all the roads around here, go hacking from the centre, which is fabulous.
And can they use the track?
So at the moment we don't offer that service, but we are hoping in the future to be able to offer for all public to come and use our roads and tracks.
Georgia, it really is incredible what you've all achieved. It's hard to imagine a centre like this tucked away in the Welsh Hills. And thank you so much for our guided tour.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
To become part of this community as a volunteer would be one of the most worthwhile things you could do if you felt you wanted to gain new skills and experiences and make a difference. We've both been inspired by the beauty of the surroundings and the love and care which goes into putting into practice some pioneering therapies which transform people's lives.
Yes, animals make great therapists, and we must not forget the volunteers and their precious time that they give to the centre. There are a variety of areas where volunteers can help, such as maintaining the grounds, general repairs, gardening, administration, kitchen work and fundraising. Without them, the day-to-day running of the centre would be extremely difficult.
We wish them a happy and successful 40th anniversary. Further information about events, volunteering and fundraising can be found on the Clwyd Special Riding Centre website. I certainly have their charity race day in my diary on the 28th of September, a great day to show your support.
From the horse box, we'll be there, and it will be a fun day. Meanwhile, please press that follow button so you won't miss our next episode, when it could be you in the driving seat.